done yoga for 12 years now, and I have found it to be very helpful. Most people get curious to know what yoga does, but it seems like one has to observe to see what it does, instead of just relying on the stereotypes of what people say. Most people think of yoga as sitting down with your legs crossed, and that's it. But I found yoga to have more benefits than just sitting down, in the sense that you can explain it in three forms: mind, body, and spirit. Of course, when you think of the human being, all those components are together, but we separate them only for the purpose of clarification. In our modern society, we have interesting experiences where the human seems to have lost this touch of being centered, where you are the one who determines what you want to do at your own pace. And in comparison, when the world or society continues to become more and more modern, we seem instead to be not the starting point, we are just reacting. We always react to different things. And I think one way of explaining stress in modern society is to recognize how we are constantly made to react. And as we react, we feel like we are not in charge anymore. And in not being in charge, we express those symptoms of not being in charge by expressions such as where you are so tired and you have to get back to oxygen. When your body does that, it means you are oxygen depleted, and that reaction of is telling you get back and breathe more deeply. Why we not breathe deeply? Because as we are stressed, the anxiety brings us to a level where we breathe at a very low amplitude, like as opposed to. So yoga helps you to understand your body. That's when it comes to understanding how you are feeling. And at the same time, as you understand your body, you become more aware of what you need to do to make it feel better. When you do yoga, for example, I swim, and if I swim for 1 hour, when I come out of the pool, because I'm using yoga as a breathing mechanism, I feel less tired than if I just swim like that. And I've had similar explanations from people who do basketball. They tell me their game was better and they were more focused. I find people who go to the gym, they tell me now they're doing less weight and they're having more effect. So that's an example of how yoga is so different. So to explain specifically what we mean by mind, really we are saying yoga helps you to become more mindful, in other words, more aware of yourself. And when you're more aware of yourself, then you are aware of stresses, and therefore you can control your stress level better by reacting in the appropriate ways. With regard to body, your body needs exercise, and yoga gives you that exercise because it uses the body weight and the different poses that you do, which help you to either stretch your muscles, give you more resistance, and give you more flexibility, so that when you are at an advanced age, or maybe in your 50s or 60s, you can still feel as flexible as a 17-year-old. So we have mind, body, and spirit. As far as spirit is concerned, I think there's some overlap between yoga and religion, where you begin to see that if you are more aware of yourself, that's mind, more concentration, then you become aware of the relationship between you and everything around you, including others or other creatures, animals. So I think this idea of kindness to yourself, which begins with not doing anything in excess, and that's what most religions preach, which also means being more aware of desire, and that's what most religions aim at, to make you more aware of your desire, so that then you have better control. I think that's where the connection comes. As I mentioned earlier, talking about yoga, you do need a little bit of equipment, not expensive as you can tell. This is a bandana. People ask me, why are you wearing a bandana when you're doing yoga? And the answer becomes clearer at the end when you see that I'm all drenched with sweat. I use the bandana because it helps me to absorb all the sweat. That way it doesn't drip on the floor. And it also helps me cool down, because if you understand the physics concept of the latent heat of vaporization, when you have sweat, your body is attempting to evaporate it. And that evaporation process requires taking the heat from the body to cause the cooling process to happen. Then I have the yoga mat here, which helps you essentially for skidding. When you have the yoga mat, you don't skid on the floor, you stay firm. And so that's the basic idea of why we use a mat. start with, when you are doing yoga, you always have to learn the basics. The first thing is breathing. And breathing means keeping your oxygen levels high, actually higher than normal, because as you exert yourself, your body is consuming energy. Consuming energy is oxidation, and all that burning requires a replenishment of the oxygen process, or the oxygen to maintain the cell life. So this is just the starting. What we're going to do is to talk about Ujjayi breathing, so that you understand what Ujjayi breathing. In yoga, we breathe in a very methodical way. You become aware. Remember, we talked about mind and body. So as far as mind is concerned and body, you are aware of how your body is. So now I'm going to demonstrate the Ujjayi breathing. You inhale in slowly, as in I hold the air for a few moments there so it soaks into the body, and then I exhale slowly. So the hand gestures essentially help you to remember the form, but also the rate at which you are breathing in and breathing out. Inhale again. And exhale. You hear my sound because I'm not breathing exactly normal. I'm breathing in a manner that I create some rasping. It's almost like making sure that I have a visual, an audio to help me to recognize that I'm continuously breathing. When people begin this, they have a difficult time because they would like to breathe in quickly, as in, and then they breathe out, exhale. We don't do that in yoga. We want the oxygen to get in. Very similar to the analogy of putting a slice of bread in a cup of tea. If you take it in and out quickly, it won't soak enough, but if you take it in, hold it for a moment, and then out, that works a lot better. So that's Ujjayi breathing for you. Again, to repeat, exhale out completely, and then now we're inhaling slowly. Lungs are completely full. Exhale slowly. So I'm going to continue now to pump my body with oxygen, so that when I start the exercise, I will actually have oxygen in reserve already. Now I'm going to move down so I can begin to loosen my body. And the idea again is to maintain the same breathing process so that my body is continuously oxygenated. So as a starting off point, I take a measure of my fist, and that gives me how much gap to have between my legs, and that's where I start from. Then I have my hands on there, and I'm going to start the same breathing. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. So the idea here is you're trying to make sure that your body is flexible enough, because like all exercise, you don't have to start exercising before you have done enough flexing. In this case, we are flexing, but making sure we have oxygen. And then at this point, we make it a little more challenging. This time when I exhale, notice what happens when I inhale. I'm done inhaling, now I'm exhaling. I'm lifting my legs up and I'm trying to step with my heels beyond just there. And as I'm doing this, already I'm stretching these muscles. By the way, that's an example of the stretching or extending that I was mentioning. Inhaling all the way to the top. Now this looks like a very simple pose, but the amount of pull I'm having on my muscles all the way here, all the way to the back, and then on my hands as I begin to push my head down. If you notice the way I'm extending down, and notice how my back has to stay straight. That is like getting myself pulled in all kinds of directions, and in particular building the side, extending the thigh muscles, building the hand muscles. This is very similar to if I was lifting weights in the gym. Then I'm back again. I'm inhaling, exhale. I'm going to hold it there for a while I'm breathing 3 times, inhaling. At this point I'm almost trembling because my whole muscle system is on fire. And now I'm getting down back. When you get tired, every time you go to what we call the baby position, which is I recede back like that and just calm down. At this point I'm breathing normally, but trying to get as much oxygen as possible. Now in yoga we don't rest for too long. That's enough resting already right there. So now I'm going to get up and do what I call the stretching. Stretching of one leg at a time. And I start off by doing that measure. Balancing, of course. Notice my chest is facing sort of forward, but I want to be able to bend while the chest is facing out. So the way I correct that is I go through the steps. And that is the correction I'm making. Now I'm going to go down with my legs straight. And again, this is an example of how I'm going to work on different parts of the body. I'm going down. Again, breathing. I'm exhaling slowly, exhaling down. In the past, I couldn't go this far. But now I can go all the way to touch the floor. If you notice again, my chest is outward and my hand is up there. Now, I'm going to try to make sure that my palm can really reach the floor, and that also requires more work. Which muscles am I working on now? This entire system, this muscle system because my chest is out, and this whole system as well. And as I go down, I'm getting more work done there. So this is almost like a massage. And again, because I'm talking, I'm not keeping up the breathing, but that should be the process of keeping the breathing going. We call that the Ujjayi breathing. Notice my palm now is on the floor and I'm hurting a lot. The muscles are getting pulled even further. This muscle area here, my chest is staying open, and I'm going to stay there for a while until I feel the fire. Now I'm getting up slowly, again maintaining the breathing process. Notice what I do here is I extend my leg further out there, and notice how my foot is pointing. If it is this way, there's not as much work, but when it is this way, there's more work. And I'm gonna extend this further forward. Again, you can maintain a right degree, but you can go further that way. That is all you need. We call this the warrior position, where it is tricky when for beginners, you're trying to balance, at the same time you're trying to extend yourself. I'm extending these muscles because my foot is facing the forward. This whole entire place is being worked on. And even the challenge of staying balanced like this is not easy, but again, with the breathing, everything is possible. Unlike weightlifting, where everything is fairly fast, in yoga it is slow, so the way the muscles are being worked is slowly but very effective. I'm going to make a twist like I'm begging. I'm going to go down here, notice, there's another pause, and I'm going to try to twist my body back slowly, maintaining the breathing. All of these muscles are opening. Then I go back down. Pull this leg out slowly and come back to that position again, taking a deep breath. And then slowly. Notice my back has to stay straight. And for people with lower back problems, it's even more important than to keep the back straight, because you don't want your discs to be bulging. That will cause you some injury. Now I come out slowly, 1, 2, and I'm ready to breathe in again. I hold the air for a while, exhaling. Okay, so we have done one side. For the camera, I'm going to switch, otherwise I would have had it this way, but I'm going to switch so that I can have the other experience from the other side this time around. Again, remember, my chest is facing this way, I do the correction, I'm facing this other way, and I'm now ready to go down. Take a deep breath, I hold on the air, down, tiptoeing already, and now I'm going to get my palm flat on the floor. Again, those muscles are getting pulled, and even though I've done this for 12 years, every time I do it, I still experience the stress, because essentially your muscles are elastic, they always go back. But it is sweet pain, just like the pain in the gym. Okay, enough burning, so now I'm back again to the same posture where I extend out a little bit, forward a little, and I'm back to that warrior position that you probably remember. Just keeping the hand just in this position alone is a lot of work, a lot of energy being consumed. I can even feel the fire. And now I'm ready to switch back to that position I mentioned earlier. And take a deep breath again. Hold it. I'm going down. As far as I can go, all these muscles are being worked on. Then I go back there. Again,
It's one thing to be tiptoed like that, but to aim at the heels, stepping down is another pull on the muscles, these muscles here. And when I extend lower my back, straighten my back, is additional work that's more to the upper muscles. And when I dip my head down, the hands are working as much, and the back muscle as well. Then I get up again. 1, 2. Okay, so that's how far we go. For the lower back, oftentimes people who have very severe lower back problems, one way to relieve that pain is to try this posture. And when you are in this position, and you can bring your leg to that point, and again never go beyond 90 degrees, then just trying to hold and doing the lock that way, and straighten your torso up. As I do this, I can already feel the effect there. Now if I'm on this side and I do a little twist forward, it does give me a lot of relief because the spinal cord is getting twisted, or rather it is relieving whatever blockage there is in there. And I can go back slowly, and do the same for the other side to balance. Okay, so that's one pause. You can go back. Now at this point, I'm ready to introduce the next step, which is twisting of your spinal cord. And what you do here is you just get down to this position. And you notice I have this hand that I'm going to bring in there and turn enough there. And I keep enough space here for my foot, which is now going to be brought in there. And I'm ready to do the twist, again maintaining the breathing, as in deep breathing. I'm going to lock myself in there, and I'm going to be turning back. Notice how far I can go, and the range has been increasing over the years. For beginners, maybe they'll just come this far, and that's how far they can go. But I can go this far. In brief, the entire spinal cord is twisted, which means it's being loosened, and the idea is to be flexible. That's the flexibility we're introducing there. These muscles are being pulled because this is a stopper, and this is working as my point of reference to force my body to yank this way. So that's the idea. You're using that power that way. So you're working on a lot of muscles. Remember here, this hand is having a lot of work because it is hooked on there and is holding the whole body up that way. And even the desire to push this way is very similar to if this hand was having a gym weight. So this is the sense in which yoga uses your own body to exert all the necessary pressure. So I'm done with that side, and then I'll come to the other side again, which is very similar. And I think for the camera it's fine to remain there because you'll be able to capture the other side. Alright, the same thing, I brought in my foot, this one comes to the side, and now I'm going to do the next twist. Take a deep breath. This time you can see how my back is looking twisted, and just a challenge to breathe fully because your lungs are also twisted. And you can see how my hand is hooked on there and how much work it is doing. I come back slowly. Everything is done in a gentle form in yoga. Now I'm ready to do the last bit while I'm here, which is taking my hand back all the way here, hooking it there in order to twist the body even further. Now each twist you do is different because it has a different effect since it's on a different angle, and this twist definitely has its own impact. So this is the sense in which we say yoga is like massage in a lot of ways. Because as you can notice here, we are going through this process and massaging the whole body system as we do the twists. Now I'm going to go to the next pose. I try to mix them up so that I don't have to be on the floor throughout. And again, it balances my level of fatigue. I'm going to get up and start on a new step here. This one is quite challenging. It requires very serious concentration. It's going to work on balancing the body at the same time exerting a lot of pressure. I'm beginning with this, balancing, which is easy, anybody can do that, or most people. But notice what I'm going to do here. I'm going to maintain breathing again. As I grab that with both hands, I'm going to bring it back to the same balance, so it's balancing with the other leg, as in this. But now I'm going to push it towards me, and that requires my hands to do a lot of work as if they were in a gym. I'm pushing in, also maintaining the oxygen. So the whole of this muscle system is being worked, and my hands are actually doing work. Then I come back to this position, I'm still breathing. Ready? Notice how my hands are like they're lifting a lot of weight in a gym situation, because that's what I'm really doing. And the muscles I'm working on are these ones in particular, elongating them further and stretching these muscles as well. Okay, I'm done with that. The next thing, again, I'm maintaining breathing. I used to get only up to this far. After many years now, I can actually straighten the leg completely. That's a lot of work. Balancing is one, that's mind concentration. And now I'm going to try to pull further up. Then I'm going to try to get down. Breathing is so important. If you could do that 3 times, that will be very helpful. That is, take some rest, repeat again and again. But for demonstration, I'm just showing the form for now. So that's one. You can see it was quite a challenge. I'm gonna try the other side now. The whole of this area has been worked on as I was pulling that from the side. Now we are back to the second part where we're working on these muscles here. We are working on the hand muscles as well as I'm lifting all this weight. Notice the difference with the gym here again is not so much as lifting the weight up and down, but holding it and keeping it there. So it may be very light, but the amount of exertion is great and the quality of work is also great. And if we do the second time, if I can report, this hand is hurting from all the challenge of holding, and the whole of this muscle system has been worked, and that is how yoga works for you, essentially. Alright, so we're done with this step. Let's try the next one, which is an attempt to do another stretch, but instead of having stretches where each time we are bending this way, we're going to do the opposite. And that's the next step here. I'm going to lay down. And then I'm going to grab this leg from the side. Grab this one from the side. Take a deep breath. As you can guess, all the chest muscle and stomach muscles are worked. The hands have hard work to do as well, and these muscles are having the same time. And the lower back, or rather the whole spinal cord, is getting work done. At this point, I can report that I'm beginning to feel the sweat. Okay, so now I'm going to switch to something that's the opposite of what I just did. Again, maintaining the oxygen levels, and if time I feel that I'm running out of oxygen, I stop and maintain the breathing process on. Ready for the next one? Again, if you can do that twice, even better. But for the purposes of demonstration, once is good enough. The muscles that I worked on, as you can imagine, the stomach muscles. And now I'm going to demonstrate the other part for your back. You close in there, pull in, and again the hands are doing a lot of work. Hold in that, all that. Wait. So what we do with yoga is pretty invisible to the eye because you're just seeing very gentle motions, but they all are producing a lot of work, and consequently the body is getting its share of exercise. Okay, this one is another twist done from the floor. Notice my hand is out there. I bring this knee to where this heel to the knee, and this hand is going to do the job of keeping my shoulders on the floor while twisting this as far as I can. And the other side now. Remember, all the time Ujjayi breathing Long inhale, long exhale. And as I continue to burn some more, for people with issues with the lower back, when you get up, it's not advisable to just get up like that. Always use this method of reaching the floor and coming up like that, because that keeps your back fairly uninterrupted. So that's another posture. You can already sense how my speech has changed, because the amount of oxygen I'm using is significant, and it tells you that this is not any different from being in a gym. If anything, is probably very challenging. Now there's one posture that helps you with your nervous system, and by the way, if you get too tired, you should always attempt to get back to the belly position, which is what I just demonstrated earlier. Lay down there, start from here, and if you can go as far as you can, and if you have a low back issue, keep your back straight, don't hunch like that, just keep it that way. We call it the baby position because some babies actually prefer to sleep that way. Alright, for the nervous system, it's meant to have your nervous system fairly straightened, and that's the posture. You pay attention to the breathing for at least a minute or more. If you want to open up, just to give yourself a little more body massage. If you want to give yourself more challenge, open out like that, because your hands are going to carry out more weight that way. Most people would have trouble getting there, and some people actually, when they are just beginners, they prefer to stay here. It feels safer. When I've done this over the years, you begin to feel comfortable about moving the whole area. And then to get done, notice how I'm preparing to land. I never could do that before, but now I can. Again, I pull in. While I'm doing this, I'm sucking my lower back inward so that I don't hurt it, because I don't want to be folding myself this way. Rather, I'm folding from right here, but the back remains straight all the time. And that's why I sort of, you could even pass your hand across there, because I'm trying to arch the back inward. Okay. So we're done with the nerve department. Now we're getting even better. We're going to try another stretch. This one will work all these muscles all the way. And I start off by starting from there, and I move in that way. Notice again, most important, my back. I think I should change the mat a little, just for your convenience there. Alright. Now at this point, again the back remaining straight. Ujjayi breathing. When you have lots of oxygen, you build more confidence in yourself. I'm going to start descending now. Notice how straight my head is and the back is straight as well. I'm not hunched this way because that doesn't do the work. I'm feeling stress on these muscles already as I'm elongating them. I'm keeping the back straight, maintaining the Ujjayi breathing. In the past, this is how far I would go. But you notice now I can go even further than that. At this point, because I'm holding on my legs, and this is completely straight, I begin to feel the fire in here, which means I'm helping these muscles to become stronger, but I'm also stretching them, which is how we fight aging as well. I can't go any further here, but I can still do more work. My hands definitely are working because they are burning from having to hold this, which is the same as doing weights in the gym. My back is hurting again for the same reason, and I'm trying to maintain it straight, and the more I arch in, the more I work on these muscles all the way. They are burning like fire. And I'm going to stay that way for a while, maintaining the breathing and attempting to arch in. What is the difference between this and this? Just arching in like that has a significant impact. The burning is getting unbearable, so now I'm going to get back up. And that helps me to get the relief there. Taking a deep breath again. I'm going to do the one for the chest and the biceps, which brings me down there. And this time, as opposed to the press-ups that we do in the gym this way and that way, it's a different story altogether. I take a deep breath. I'm down there. Notice how I'm keeping the back straight and all those muscles are burning like I explained earlier. This time I'm working on the hands, so I'm headed forward. As I mentioned with yoga, it is everything slow. And then I'm rolling forward slowly. This is the up dog position. Notice I'm trying to be as straight as possible, as if my head and my hands make the whole body. My hands are like the legs, and I'm just standing straight. My toes are working because they are supporting all that weight. My lower back is getting the massage. My shoulders are carrying the weight. With all that fire, I have to take a rest in the baby position. And again, you don't rest for too long. This time I'm going to attempt to stand on my belly button. It doesn't really work, but that is the idea. You are aiming there. It works on your stomach muscles the most. Take a deep breath. The more you try to stretch the legs, the better, the more the challenge. And that's a lot of fire right there. Back to baby position again. Okay, we're going to go to another position. We call it the awkward chair, where you actually sit on a chair that is imaginary, and it causes the most work. And let me say a few things about this posture. Because it generates so much heat, you can use it to survive. You probably have heard of cases where somebody is lost. It's very cold at night and they have no fire. And they have to warm up their body. And one way to warm up your body is by doing this particular posture, because it generates so much heat. Okay, starting position. Relaxed. Take a deep breath. Going down. Most people, when they're here, they're on the tiptoes. And especially if you have more weight here, you don't dare to go back. But when you learn to compensate, you bring this hand weight to the front to compensate, and that weight allows to go down. Now notice that I can now step on the heels. Now the biggest challenge is when I come up halfway, take a deep breath. At this point, I'm on the chair. I'm going to attempt to rest on the chair, and that's where the work is, and a lot of fire here. Take a deep breath again. Resting back on the chair. I'm literally experiencing fire here. You could see the smoke. It's like the marrow in there is burning. Hot oil poured in there. Okay, take a deep breath again. Just go down. That's a lot of work. Getting back to baby position. To rest some more again. When you start doing yoga, sometimes you might feel the room is cold. It's not a good idea to raise the temperature because, as you can see, I'm already glad it was cold in here. Okay, one more position. This one we call the crawl. Engages your mental capacity to balance, calls for all the courage you have. It builds a lot of strength. Notice how I balance. I keep that fingers that way because I want to have more space as opposed to having them here. I open them up like that. I'm going to wedge my thighs on my elbows slowly. And you notice first I take a deep breath. I'm going to hold that as I move forward. Taking off. That's where the name crawl comes from. Most people have difficulties with this as well. I've done it over and over, but it's still a challenge, as you can see. If you're a beginner, it might be a good idea to have a pillow at the front so you don't damage the brain. If you're strong enough, as I develop the hand strength now, you can see what I'm going to do. Attempting to bend down that way, coming back, going down, coming back, and that is a lot of work. I can feel my whole body is drenching with sweat. Again, you can go back to the baby position, take a little rest. Again, notice even if you're taking a rest, try to maintain that Ujjayi breathing rhythm. The last, quite challenging, again, is this other posture. Sorry, I should have it the other way. I'm going to roll my hands in there. Come here, you want to be on the side there. I'm going to attempt to move out, up a little, just about a few inches. And you can notice how I'm swiveling, which means I'm up. Breathing a lot of strength for the hand. And the stomach muscles as well. Coming up systematically so you don't fall. Out like that, and I'm ready. Okay. These are just some of the beginner steps for yoga, and they certainly do help you build your body, your mind, and your spirit. You never end yoga just like that. So what we're going to do now, you get to the point that we refer to as meditation. Meditation, and I'm going to call it breathing meditation in this case, because I'm trying to recover from the fatigue, and you'll notice that from what I've done here, I'll recover quite fast, mainly because of the oxygen replenishment that I'm engaging in. You can have it this way, making sure the back straight, and I'm not slouching this way. I'm out like that. If you have trouble staying this way on your own, you can hold on to there and you create some force to suck your back in. If you could change sides slightly, you might see the same posture from a different angle. You can see how straight the back is, not slouching this way, but up straight. Notice my head is not down and it's not up, it's just straight like that. When you learn to do Ujjayi breathing properly and you fill your lungs completely, you can feel the same effect that an athlete who runs, after 2 days they feel some muscles hurting. In my case, I feel the lungs hurting in the next day or so. And this is when you breathe as deep as, for example here, I breathe out, I exhale in, every time you feel that gap, is when I feel the lungs and I'm holding the air, and I think the lungs have been pushed so far that the muscles of the lungs are actually pushed enough that you can feel the pain the next day because the lungs are getting stretched. And the benefit of this is that your capacity to hold oxygen increases. And I can tell you from comparing my experience in swimming, most swimmers will go 1, 2, they come out for air. 1, 2, they come out for air, or if those are better, they go like 1, 2, 3, they come out for air. In my case, I can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and they come for air at the 7th. That's because the lungs have been built and expanded over time. So yoga again is not a competitor, but it supplements or helps your abilities in other areas. And that was just one example I wanted to give there. Now when you are doing this yoga Ujjayi breathing, one thing it does is that it helps you to concentrate a lot, because as you're breathing in, you're just paying attention to the inhalation. And you may not know that not only are you adding oxygen, but you are actually meditating in that you are shutting your world from everything else, since your one point focus is just breathing. So all the issues that you have, you are taking a break from them. And that's the sense in which yoga is a cleaning agent, because it actually keeps your mind clear of all that. Now the way I do it, when I'm inhaling, I'm saying oxygenating my body, I'm giving more oxygen to my body, that's how I'm thinking. All the clean air and the good things coming in, and I hold it to wait for it to soak. And when I'm exhaling out, in my mind I visualize exhaling all the junk, all the stress, all the expressions that are negative, and all the things that put you down, trying to forget them by literally flushing them out. So I think of oxygen as if it was water put in a dirty glass and you are swishing, and then you pour out the dirt, in more oxygen, the same thing, pouring out the dirt. That's the sense in which I see breathing as meditation, and I hope if you can conceptualize that, it helps you. Think of that all bad air coming from your whole body system. Of course, you know that carbon dioxide that you breathe out is essentially all the carbon dioxide occurring because your cells are going through what we call oxidization, which is why we need more oxygen. The same way that if you burn a piece of paper, it oxidizes and carbon dioxide is coming out. So your body needs the oxygen to keep your cells alive, and that's why we have lungs, which is why we have the blood system going all around, because it comes back to the lungs to release the carbon dioxide. Oxygen comes in through the lungs again to be sent throughout your body. So yoga essentially is a health experience. It's not just like the gym where you just go and lift weights so you can have muscles only, but rather it is a way of making yourself aware of different areas of your body, how they are functioning, and trying to figure ways of making them function even more efficiently so that you can feel more healthy. And people have reported all kinds of recoveries from yoga. So generally you do this for probably about 5 minutes of concentration on that kind of breathing. And the next thing you come to is the final posture, where you want your whole fluid system to be balanced. And the way we do that is by falling back to that resting position. As I mentioned, if you have a low back, you don't want to just fall like that. You want to go back in a systematic way and then laying out slowly. Here, legs out, they are not here, they are out here. The toes are not pointing this way or straight, they are out slightly that way. My hands are also out, open this way, not that way. And my head is not here or here, but balanced. I maintain the Ujjayi breathing here as well, but I try to shift back to the normal breathing. Now, if you notice, because we are on a flat surface, all the body fluids are going to balance out. So you don't have too much fluid in the head and too little. You have no need to faint in parades because they have stood for so long. The oxygen depletes because most of the blood is on down there and the head is fairly without blood. So here, I'm trying to allow all the fluids to be balanced so that the head is just fine. And I can tell you already from all the breathing I've done, I'm feeling much better. Almost as if I did not exercise at all. So at this point, you can close your eyes and meditate. As you continue to breathe, you are making a transition from yoga to getting back to your normal. I have come to realize that generally I get more oxygen when I'm doing yoga than when I'm in the office or when I'm doing other things. But because I've become more aware of my oxygen depletion levels, I've learned to do yoga every time, yoga breathing every time, whether I'm walking, whether I'm talking, whether I'm swimming, and I try to make sure everything becomes fairly rhythmic, which goes with how I'm breathing. So this is the basic idea of yoga. When you are in this position, oftentimes I have students going to sleep, because after a while they are breathing in and they are trying to forget everything, and indeed they forget everything to the point they are so relaxed they fall asleep. One more point about insomnia. For people who have trouble sleeping at night, if you are trying to sleep and your mind is racing with so many issues and stresses, if you can practice this yoga breathing, it will help you. And what you do is you teach your body to be relaxed, and you do that by what I'm going to demonstrate now. I'm going to take a deep breath, and while holding that air, I clench my fists and my toes. I'm making my whole body very stiff, and in fact I'm going to put my hand in there and try to lift my body up. And as I concentrate on that, I'm holding the air, and then I start breathing, exhaling. I let my body down. This is the story of yoga in brief, and let me say, this is just the beginners. I want to encourage all of you who want to stay healthy to realize that there is a way, and one of them is yoga. And of course, in addition to this, you can do some aerobic exercises like running or swimming, which helps you. And together, it brings the whole idea of mind, body, and spirit together. Let me say happy breathing and keep on doing the yoga or trying your best.